Will I? No.
Right?
Fuck you.
I don't know if he actually said that to him or not, but he didn't mean to run into him like that. I have no idea how this is actually running. I went through my stream yesterday and it was a little fucky in places. So I don't know. I have to figure something out. Probably because of like updates or some bullshit. I think it was particularly kind of fucky in the city. Ah, Jesus Christ. Like, do I even want to try to get my car out of there? Do I even want to try it? I might as well put the car back in the apartments at this stage. Just trying to decide if I just want to go to fucking, what's it called, or just try and get my car out. I think I'll just give it a shot. Wanted to acquire a helmet. At least. No, there's a lot of context to that Joshua text. You know, the context was not streamed. Though I'm sure you could find it out there. However, him being told to not do something, it's difficult to resist doing the opposite. Basically, this is the same picture. One's a little bit cooler than the other. Oh, it is $25. Oh, shit. Do we have cash on me? I don't. God damn it. Thought I did. Fat Cowboy Johnny Stein. Which I don't even think I spelled it right. At least on there. I don't recall. Actually, no, I don't. I'll save it. Or I'll, won't worry about saving it right now. Mostly just wanted that for... because... reasons. Wait, what am I doing? I'm just running away from my car. Taco shop. Don't know how long I'll be around. I mean, as usual, I always say that. Very, very closed today. Everything.
Hello, sir. Do you play the piano?
Oh, I wish I did.
Yeah, me too.
Do you play the piano?
No. I also wish I did. I wish I played that, and the guitar, and the violin.
I mean, yeah, it'd be, nice skills
and
to
spoke
have.
Spanish.
Bad news, Habibi.
I mean, yeah.
And Italian. Wait, what's the bad news?
All those would be
There's
great
no
things.
milk. And we need milk.
You have a great day, sir.
You as well. Was that Grail? Sweet.
Hold on, sorry, give me a second.
Okay. You're out of everything you need then? Okay, I thought so.
Wow, paradise is open! Woo!
Oh. I guess Paradise is open, so...
Did she just close that shop and then open this one?
Yes.
After she canceled my order?
Yes.
What the hell?
This I can confirm.
You can go ahead, sir.
Yeah, we have.
You,
Yeah.
You ready? You ready? You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Shit. Sandwich? Combo? Sandwich? Something? Food?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Oh, whoa, oh, that's a... you know what? Fuck it. Yeah, why not?
I actually made it cheaper for you because you actually don't.
Oh, shit, really?
Yeah, here. Oh, wait. And just because you are totally not going to snitch that I was over there at that other shop, here you go. Here's a little something, something.
I wouldn't understand it, you know, who owns what anywhere anyway, so... Oh, there we go. Thank you, appreciate it.
Have 5 stuffed plantains, 2 rum cakes, 2 sprunks, 1 mango nada, and 1 tings. That's it. Yes, thank you.
Tings is the bomb. Tings is the bomb.
Hey, sir, how's it going?
Pretty okay. How's it going with you?
Well, you know, I've been doing all right, but how come it's only pretty okay? What would it take to make it great?
You know, I don't know, that depends. Like, you know, what can you do to make it great?
Well, actually, I know something that you could do to help me help you and the city make this place, the whole place, a little bit better.
Okay, does it involve, what I think it involves?
That depends. Do you think it's gonna involve signing a book? Because if you say signing a book, it involves signing a book.
That's exactly what I was thinking, signing a book. Well, wait,
Yeah.
wait, what book?
I'm so glad you asked. Well, you see, I'm working on this book. You can go ahead and hand it to you if you'd like. The first couple pages just kind of tell you a little bit about myself and why I got into therapy. And after that, once you get to like, I think it's on page 11 at this point, that's where signatures are continuing.
That's a lot of pages.
And basically my goal is I want to collect 300 signatures. And when I do, I'm going to take that book down to the government and see if maybe they'll consider me as a viable candidate for head of the psych department.
Oh, that is okay. Okay, head of the psych department, you say?
Yep, that's my goal.
That is a, I'm gonna tell you that department has been held onto for a very long time by, you know...
I am beyond aware.
By
But
one
also,
person.
I'm very aware. Also, I don't know if this helps or not, but you know, the idea behind, well, you know, they didn't really give me the specific idea of the book per se, but the idea to give it my best to at least, you know, see about my options, right?
Well, okay.
It was actually given to me by a lot of the medical staff.
Okay. So
And
you have...
one of them actually even paid for my expungement because I got a little bit of a oopsie doopsie,
Oh.
but I didn't even know that I was gonna get one. Like, it's kind of a long story. All you need to know is I ended up getting a gun as a gift, but I didn't know that that gun was illegal, and I never even used the gun, but I still had it on me because I thought it looked cool, and it ended up having a body on it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a thing. That is a thing. Well, if you're the head of, so you want to be the leader. You want to be the top guy.
Yeah, so I mean, there's no soft way of saying it. I want to replace Pixie, you know, the one that's currently in charge.
I guess my question.
If you're desperate, I do have some. Yeah, it's a donut.
Yeah,
I hope you don't mind.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'll take that.
Love donuts.
I suppose my I mean, I did just sign it, so, you know, there you go, because I think that there should be a new person in charge of that department, for sure. But, that being said, I may have signed it, but I kind of want your credentials.
That's totally fair.
I kind of want to have a session with you.
Oh, yeah, that's totally fair, too. I mean, my first sessions are free, just like it says in that book. That's actually even a line in my rap song, Therapize, and you should check it out.
Okay. Perhaps I will do so. I mean, are you available for a session then? Because if you were legit trying to do this, you know, I want to evaluate.
Yeah, that's totally fair. If you want to do that, we can. If you want to do that right now, even we can. Although, you know, if we do that, oh, I just said do.
You did.
But if that happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do gotta ask you one question.
Yes.
Do I sound okay?
You do. Do I sound okay? My voice has been a little.
Yeah, you sound fantastic.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. In fact, personally, I'm a little jealous. I'd wish I'd rather have your voice than mine.
Really? Well, you know, that's a first.
Well, you know, sometimes you just gotta say how you feel, you know.
Okay. Well, listen, I am ready and willing. Wait, are you? So, okay. I guess first question before we do this: Are you a clown?
Yes.
Okay. Are you part of any of the groups?
Well, the thing is okay. So, people often ask that, right? But there's no real easy way to explain it to people. But I am a clown, and I enjoy company with anybody, whether they're clown or not. Okay.
Okay.
And I know that a lot of people think that there's like different sections of clowns or whatever, right? Whatever it is that they really think is going on. I'm not really sure, to be honest.
Right.
But all I can tell you is I'm a clown, and I just enjoy being a clown. And do I have a room at the funhouse? Sure. But, you know, I also go up to the north end of Grapeseed and like to participate even with the clowns that call themselves a neon circus. I think everybody's great. So, you know, I'm not like one or the other. I'm just a guy who happens to be a clown in the city.
Okay. Yeah. That works for me. That works for me. You know, you mentioned a good 2 words in there. You know, which I maybe will elaborate on in this session.
Okay. Well, and also, I don't know if this helps explain my position, especially when it comes to therapy, because I take therapy extremely serious, extremely serious.
Okay.
And my philosophy is, even if I don't like someone, right?
You'll still talk.
All I care about at the end of the day is, did they reach out to me to make a change in their life? And if the answer to that is yes, then who am I to deny them at least a little bit of time to see if I'm the right fit to help them out?
Of course.
Which, by the way, that's also why my first sessions are free. Because in some cases, you know, sometimes no matter what you do, you're just not the right fit. And that's fine. But I don't want to charge somebody for a first-time session just to find out that things didn't really work out. I feel like that's kind of unfair to them and the process as a whole. So that's why my first sessions are free, and I'm always open to help anybody. In fact, you know, I'm not going to get into names because that would be unprofessional, but let's just say I've even therapized a couple mimes.
Oh. Interesting. Okay, well, I will say that, you know, you might be in for a bit of a doozy. So we can, where would you like to go?
Well, because I'm not a, licensed therapist at the moment. Although I was I was the first licensed therapist at the prison. I used to be a
Oh,
DOC
shit.
guard.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I know somebody who
Um,
used to be, I know a few former DOCs that, worked there.
Yeah, it was great up until I became a clown, and at that time, the warden there, Scotty Bard, he openly said he was clown cyst, and
Oh.
he actually told me I couldn't wear my face paint at work, so I ended up getting this tatted on my face.
Oh, shit. Okay. Huh.
But
Well,
anyway, that's neither here nor there. The bottom line is I do have experience as an official licensed therapist, but because I'm a privatized therapist, I don't necessarily have to adhere to the same rules and guidelines as they do. And what I mean by that is if I was to be like, well, I'd probably change the rules a little bit, but if I were to be actively a licensed therapist at the hospital, right? Then I feel like the sessions would have to be held there, right? But
Traditionally
because I'm a
speaking, yes.
privatized therapist, I like to do things a little bit differently. I personally believe that I like to give all the power to the client to make them feel the most comfortable that they possibly can. Because you don't have to be a therapist to know that talking about your feelings, it's not easy and it's really uncomfortable. So I try to do things to make it so you guys are as comfortable as possible, starting with you guys picking the location, giving you guys the home field advantage.
Okay, then. I appreciate that. Which means, okay, so then you'd be okay with us going up north somewhere in a scenic area.
As long as neither of our lives are in jeopardy, I don't see a problem with that.
Your life will not be in jeopardy.
Well, I mean, unless you think we could win some serious money.
Money. Money.
Yeah, because Jeopardy.
Yeah. I see what you did there. If you wanna, okay, if you wanna take extra precautions, you can text, motherfuckers. But like, in fact, actually, I should probably grab. Is your number in the element lists?
Normally it is, but I woke up a little hazy today, so give me a quick sec.
Alrighty. We should also probably move quickly because I mean, I don't know if somebody's gonna kidnap one of us soon.
Okay, there we go. I'm in the limitless. Okay, well, if you'd like, my car's just right there. It's not the fastest thing, but it can get us to where you want to go.
Okay, sure. Okay. Am I gonna be in danger though? I'm just asking.
No, why would you be in danger?
I'm just, I wanna, since you were kind of bringing that up, I wanted to also, check my own six.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't really believe in violence, if that's what you are wondering about. That's why I'm a therapist. I'd rather always take things. What the? Are you okay, sir?
Yeah, I'm okay. Are you okay?
Just look, I'm not used to people running up when I'm starting to drive. I was a little nervous. I didn't want to hit you.
Oh no, I wasn't running up. Sorry, I just wanted to see the nice car.
Oh, okay, yeah. I got this because it reminds me of my parents.
Oh, what about it?
Well, they're hippies, and then for me also, I'm a therapist, so I kind of stand for peace and love.
I said, my heart. Okay, well, walk on, bro.
Okay, well, hey, you stay
Hey,
safe.
Zay.
What?
He may have just, gone through your shit.
Do you think so?
I mean, it looks like he was looking into something. And you might want to check your trunk.
It's whatever. Probably didn't take anything awesome.
Alright, so, I think, yeah, somewhere up north, somewhere, I don't know, let's see. I mean, I don't really want to mess with your gauge there.
No, you're fine. You can go ahead and put it in the GPS if you like.
Let me just see here. I guess I'll take one of the obvious choices.
Man, the cops are really out today. You know, I apologize if maybe you already told me, but I feel like I didn't actually get your name.
You didn't. I know your name though because I read it on the book you gave me. So,
Okay, but
Ben?
what's your name?
Kenneth.
Kenneth? Nice
Yes.
to meet you, Kenneth.
Nice to meet you. Let's just say that I've seen a lot of different therapists in my time here. So that's kind of one reason why I am very much interested in evaluating you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Especially if you want to take the place of Pixie, who, you know, let's just say her and I have had a tumultuous past.
Well, you know, she did want to hire me for a while, but I listened to the advice of a lot of my friends who just kind of convinced me that she kept putting a carrot on a stick in front of me. So eventually I quit the application process because I already built a reputation in the city as being a therapist, and a lot of people told me that I could easily just do my own thing.
Tends to be the case, but as I've noticed, like, I've known some folks who have tried to go private, and they've even tried to commercialize, but and good old Pixie just comes on back and takes all the business.
Well, you know, if it makes you feel any better, the first time I started this book, I mean, I hadn't seen Pixie in months, and then out of nowhere, she flew back in, and after a couple of days of being back, she actually called me and threatened me.
Huh. Well, that sounds pretty par for the course, honestly.
Yeah, but you know, I don't let threats stop me, especially when it's like most of the medical staff really hoping that I give it at my best shot.
Well, then perhaps she has lost some of her leverage at this stage.
Well, you know, you never truly know, because trust me when I tell you, I did my digging and I'm very aware of the situation. And most people think it's probably Pixie that has the final say, but I feel like it's actually a gentleman that goes by the name Derek.
I don't think I've ever heard of a Derek. Like, in the
Yeah,
context
most
of the
people-
hospital.
Most people haven't.
Interesting.
But from my understanding, he's like the head honcho of the board.
Well, then I guess if he likes you, then you know, there goes your leverage.
Well, you know, that's what I'm hoping, but we never know. So I'm just doing my due diligence, and at the end of the day, even if it doesn't work out, I'm just gonna keep the book as like a memento of why I really enjoy doing therapy for the people in the city, because at that point I'd have a book with at least 300 people that believe in me.
I mean, yeah, that says something. I mean, that's in my opinion, and it's just an opinion. I would say that what are those things called? Where you want to get a bunch of signatures. It was shit. The actual term.
Like I'm trying to think of it too now.
A petition.
Yeah, thank you.
In my opinion, petitions are kind of trash. But, you know, I think that, you know, I mean, as far as I know, you're the first person I've ever met who has, you know, actually gotten a petition and had nearly 300 signatures. So, I mean, that is kind of a unique thing. So maybe it'll actually work for you.
Maybe, I don't really know, but like I said, even if it doesn't work, just the thought of knowing that I have a book with this many people that believe in me, that's enough to keep me still doing what I do, regardless of what, you know, regardless of how the government feels about it.
Of course. Alrighty.
I'm gonna check my vehicle here. I don't think they did take anything.
Okay.
Oh,
well,
I'm so sorry. Give me one quick second, because I don't recognize the number, and it could be an emergency.
take your time.
Hey, this is Ben. This is Ben Silly Sayek. Yeah. Wait, you actually signed it? Well, okay. I will, but the thing is I'm currently actually in a therapy session, so I do gotta go. No, I'm the therapist. I mean, I'll consider doing it, but we just basically got started. I just answered the call because I didn't actually recognize the number, and I didn't know if it was an emergency. Yeah, no problem. I'll give you a call after I'm done, and maybe you can send me a ping. Okay, awesome. Best of luck. Love you. Bye. I'm so sorry about that. I'm actually gonna silence my phone.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. You wanna talk about this? I don't know. You wanna go over there out of the rain?
I would have liked to stand on the dock, but I guess if it's
I have
raining,
an umbrella.
All right, yeah. Umbrella. Ella. Hey.
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 Oh.
Under my umbrella. Ella. Hey.
Hey, I didn't know you were a singer.
Yeah, I'm a top singer at the whatever the current record label is.
Well, I know that there's a couple going around in the city. My bandmate is actually signed to Revival Records.
Oh.
They wanted to sign me too, but unfortunately, I'm such a sleepyhead that every time I seem to wake up, I'm never able to really make it for the events they want to do.
Unfortunate.
You know.
I'm a bit of a
it's
sleepyhead
life.
myself. Been a little bit, I've been around, but, you know, I haven't been as around as much as I once was, but, I'm starting
Well,
to
I
correct
mean, you
that a
do
bit.
look pretty fit.
Well, thank you. Well, you want my voice and I look fit. Nice.
Well, I mean, you know, you were just saying you were pretty round, and I was just,
Oh.
I just figured I'd let you know you're not round at all.
Yep. Anyway, so Ben, yes? That's your name? Ben
It's Ben Silly Side, or you
Silly
could call
Side.
me Buttons.
Button. You know, I feel like I may have heard that name, but not in the context of a therapist.
Well, I mean, it's Buttons the clown, so.
I mean, yeah.
Anyways, okay, so let's get started. What brings you to wanting to do some therapy?
Well, it's loaded. The loaded kind of question because as I said, I've seen a lot of therapists in my time. A lot of it because it was mandated. Some of it because I was just curious. You know, some of it to try and make it all look good on paper. If I'm being honest.
Well, you know, the truth will set you free.
Yeah. But I think most of all, it is just curiosity. Psychological, I suppose, incentive to understand the mind of not only myself, but of the person that I am talking to.
Well, actually, since you're being so transparent with me, I don't mind sharing a little bit of also why I enjoy therapy if you'd like.
Go right ahead.
Well, for me personally, I find that the more people that I interact with, and the more that I'm able to like absorb their perspective on things, the better my arsenal becomes for helping the next person, right? Because the best way to understand how to help someone is to first understand how they perceive things. So, in a weird way, I put a little bit of myself into helping people, but I gain a lot more from them than I think they're even aware of. If that makes sense.
I see.
And it's always surprising sometimes to see what, how people perceive things. And in a weird way, it's also therapeutic because it keeps me grounded in realizing that the way I see the world isn't the way, it's just my way.
Right. You have a an open mind, as it were. Something along those lines.
Yeah, you could say that.
Would you? Are you okay if I smoke?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, presuming the
In
water
fact-
doesn't fucking get in the way, but.
Well, it's
sorry,
okay.
what were
I
you
mean,
about
my
to say?
parents were hippies, so
Oh.
I mean, plus I lost my sense of smell growing up, so none of that
Oh.
affects me.
Okay. Well, technically, I'm actually bald. I'm wearing a wig. So that's something I've had since I was a child as well.
Well, I don't know. I know that people get obsessed with looks and stuff like that, but in my opinion, the only person you should really dress to impress is yourself. But if for you, wearing a wig makes you feel better, then, do what you gotta do.
Well, it depends on my mood, really. I mean, I like wigs because, it does... I particularly like this wig because, it makes people think that I'm Neo from The Matrix. Or, I mean, I would honestly prefer J.C. Denton from Deus Ex, but, I guess, most people just go for the Neo comparison. Trust me, I'm nothing like the one, but...
Well, listen, as long as you don't got a bunch of Agent Smiths coming after you, who cares?
Honestly, I would almost consider myself more Agent Smith than Neo at this stage. But, in a different way than perhaps the way I used to be. It's... I guess actually I should say, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? I know I had just said my name was Kenneth, but that name has a lot of connotations to it to a lot of people, depending on the last name.
Well, I mean, I'll be really transparent, and don't take this personally, but you know how everyone has their strengths and weaknesses?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my weakness is my ADHD and dyslexia. I swear to God, they're out there trying to kill me all the time. And because I meet so many people, because I'm not afraid to admit that I'm a bit of a social butterfly. So because I meet so many people, I'm more of like a face and attitude type of person than I am like a name person. So nothing against you, it's just the name Kenneth, right? It doesn't really strike a chord with me, but
what about Jesperson?
that's not... What's that?
What about Jesperson?
Jesperson. I can't really say I've heard that either. Which isn't to say that I haven't heard it, it's just I can't say I remember it.
Okay. What about Mr. Smiley?
Mr. Smiley. I feel like I have heard that before.
Okay. But you couldn't really figure out what context, though.
Well, I think I've heard about them in conversation, but I couldn't... Honestly, it's been such a long time, I can't really tell you if it was good or bad, but I'd imagine with the name of Mr. Smiley, it couldn't be bad, right?
I mean, if Mr. Smiley was a clown, maybe it would be good. But the odds are, if you heard that name in context. The likelihood of it being for a bad reason is certainly high on the totem pole. But, you know, I don't know, it depends. It depends on who was using the name, who was talking about it. I mean, maybe they were saying something positive. I don't know. But,
Well, you know, I also believe that in life, it's really easy to always, here's an analogy for you. In life, it's infinitely easier to take the low road, right? But the high road has less traffic. And what I mean by that is a lot of people, instead of taking the time to wonder why someone's doing something, they just instantly see what they're doing and make their assumptions based off that. In my mind, that's a little bit like traveling on the low road, right? Because it takes less time to come to that conclusion, right?
yes.
But if you were to take the high road, and you know, maybe this isn't the best analogy, but this is just how I'm connecting it. But if you take the high road instead of the low road, less people tend to take the high road, right? So you'll get to where, let's say that the destination is the real answer, right?
Yes.
If you take the low road, like everybody else probably will, you're gonna get congested in traffic, and it's gonna take you a lot longer to get to the actual answers. But if you take the high road, it might take a little bit more time to, like, you know, gather the information in a way that makes sense. But I guarantee you'll get to you'll get that answer a lot quicker than you would if you just took the low road.
I empathize with that actually quite a bit because that is traditionally that seems to be the marker of most people. They never talk to the source of the information. They just go based off of their, as you already have eloquently put, you know, the low road assumptions, and have come down to conclusions based on all the secondhand information, but never from the actual person itself.
Exactly. And it also ties into my other belief. I believe only hurt people hurt people.
That's yep, that's that is how it is, that is how it's gone. I think that's how it's gone. That's how it's going. Of course, I've spoken to some therapists who are definitely opposed to that idea.
Well, you know, I know all too well of that. I mean, I don't really want to air it all out, but let's just say Pixie and I definitely got into her predicament at one point, and I walked out on her. The TLDR is, she asked me to express why I was upset with her after telling me I was on a 2-week probation period that ended up stretching into 2.5 months with no reason, no context, nothing that not even telling me what I could work on to, you know what I mean? Just nothing, just radio silence. And when they finally found out that I was quitting, that's when they all of a sudden had interest in me. And they asked me why I felt that way. And when I just expressed why I felt the way I felt, they told me that I didn't have the right to feel that way. So I left in the middle of our conversation.
Yeah, that
Because my way of looking at it is, it's not my job as a therapist to make sense. Well, I mean, it kind of is to make sense of your feelings, but it's not my job to tell you that what you feel is wrong. Because what you feel is justified. It doesn't matter how you feel. All that matters is this is how you feel, and that's fine. At the end of the day, the real issue is, what do you do with how you feel? That's the important part.
I see. So, like, if I were to tell you that, you know, I once bashed somebody in the head with a hammer on this very dock and dropped their body into the water, you would, you know, you wouldn't say that, you know, I was wrong to do that. Or maybe you would say I was wrong to do that, but you would, you know, you wouldn't, like, I don't know, immediately be like, you know, how dare you, motherfucker.
Well, I mean, I know that everyone has their reasons. I'll start with this. I'm a big proprietor in believing that you should always do your best to solve things in a civilized manner before it ever gets to violence. I'm a very firm believer in that.
But it
So I
sounds
don't
like
ever
you
advocate for violence, right?
But it sounds like you're just giving options. You're not telling people how you think they should do something.
Well, you know,
If they
if
make the
wanted to
mistake
talk-
of doing something like that, then that's, you know, ultimately, hey, you know, you did what you could.
Well, here's how I look at it. I don't want to try and reopen wounds because the reality is things that happened is things in the past. But I'm also not opposed to talking about it if you were, right? If you were to ask me, or, you know, hey, I did these things in the past, I don't know how to feel about it, can we explore that together, right? I would be transparent with you in how I believe about it, but at the same time, I'd keep an open perspective as to why you did the things you did, and maybe try and, you know, create an understanding for you as to why it may have happened, while at the same time providing you with a different perspective that could allow you to make a better decision the next time you see yourself in a similar predicament.
Right. Right. I've kind of done that with one of my previous therapists. You know, I called her when I had and some folks kind of pissed me off. You know, I did call her and she calmed me down a bit. So, you know, I guess that was a good thing. You know, I've been around for a while. I kind of do understand myself quite a bit. I kind of understand why a lot of things have happened the way that they've happened. And, you know, I've gotten to a point in my life where, you know, I've accepted myself. I've accepted the things that have happened in the past, you know, and you know, who I am now isn't necessarily the same person I was, I don't know, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. That being said, it doesn't necessarily mean that I am seeking redemption, because I am definitely not.
Well, hey, just bringing it back for a sec, like, you know, to the whole appearance thing, right? I personally believe you should never do things to impress someone else. You should only do things to impress yourself. That's my full belief in life. And I would never, hold it against somebody for doing something that they believe is in their best interest. Because I feel like, you know, as human beings, everybody should do whatever's in their best interest. That's how I feel. That's how I feel life is. That's, to me, that's the true definition of living freely.
I see. Good to know. Good to know. All right. So I guess I'll be as frank and blunt as I can during this conversation, because I like to view this not necessarily as a therapy session, but as a conversation. That being said, of course, you know, I fully expect that you will keep secrets. Okay, let me rephrase. Not secrets, but, you know, you will confide and you will take doctor-patient confidentiality, you know, seriously, because obviously in my past experiences, they have not.
Well, my thing is, I take therapy very, very seriously. However, I do like to point out that, remember I told you every time I do therapy, I absorb a little bit from the people I help?
Yes.
Well, in some cases, I may share what was said or talked about, right, in a therapy session, but I have rules to this. If I share an example of something that I've, helped somebody with in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do it in a circumstance where I feel like that information could probably help in the particular conversation I'm presently having, right? But if I shared that what was said, I never share the name. Or I'll
Okay.
do vice versa. If somebody's kind of, nervous, or maybe they don't really believe in therapy or whatever, I might suggest a couple people that maybe I feel that they know, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let them know, hey, well, if they're comfortable with it, you can ask, so and so, and get their input on how they felt with the therapy session, right? So, if I do say the names of my clients, I don't talk about what we talked about. But if I talk about what we talked about, I never share the name. Does that make sense?
I suppose it does. Well, okay, so let me get this straight. So you will share the name of the client, but you won't necessarily talk about what you talked about.
Yeah, it's one or the other. So if I knew that there's somebody who's nervous to start therapy, right? And they don't really know if it works or not or whatever, but I know that they're friends with, I'm just throwing out a random name. I don't even know if there is a Joe Bob, but I'm just going to say Joe Bob, okay? If I feel like they're good friends with Joe Bob and I had a session with Joe Bob, then I'd go, hey, well, you can take your time. I'm not, it's no rush to get therapy. And if you're curious, I happen to have helped Joe Bob in the past, and you can ask how that went, right? So that way they can have the autonomy to gather information on their own time as to whether or not they want to actually get a session without the pressure of me telling them that I'm just really that good, right?
I see.
Whereas in a flip side of that, let's say I'm talking to somebody completely different. We're actually in a therapy session, right? And it just so happens that the things we're talking about may seem extremely unique to my client in a way where they feel like maybe it's really hard for others to understand, including myself, right? That's where and again, as a prime example, let's say I had a similar session with Joe Bob in the past, right? About something that isn't necessarily a one-for-one, but there's parallels, right?
Right.
Then I might share snippets of whatever those parallels are to at least calm my client down, to get them to understand that even though, the details might be unique to them, the way that they feel isn't necessarily something that is seclusive, and they're not alone. And it's something that I have had some experience in the past, just as a means to help them calm down and possibly be more open to different perspectives on the situation. Because I know how it is when you get trapped in a certain way of thinking and the anxiety spikes, and I call it the broken record effect, where it just things keep looping and looping, and you try and make sense of it, but you feel like there isn't any sense to be made of it. But then you start questioning if anyone else would even understand how it is that you feel about that, and then that starts making you borderline question if you're going crazy or not, when in reality it's actually you're extremely normal for feeling the way that you feel right now. And in fact, you're even more normal for feeling that way than you possibly could imagine. And that's why I may share snippets of, a particular session I've had in the past that I feel could be applicable, right?
Right.
But if I shared those moments, I wouldn't tell them, oh, by the way, that was a session I had with Joe Bob.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Obviously, yes. You want to kind of, if a method worked in the past, you're going to reuse the method again because it cultivated some interesting results, and
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's more so designed to just have people aware that no matter how much they've already put in work to convince themselves that they're isolated and alone and that no one understands, this is kind of like easier and lighter way of pulling back that curtain and letting them understand that it's actually more normal than they think to feel the way they have been feeling about it, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. It does. Okay.
But I'm also very transparent with that because I know that a lot of people seem to think that, for some people, they seem to think that even mentioning little snippets may as well be the same thing as like saying, oh, this is a session I had with Joe Bob and dibbity that, you know, and I don't really view it that way. But I'm not gonna tell somebody that they're wrong for feeling the way they feel. It's just I'm very transparent with my work, how I do things, and as I said earlier, the truth will set you free. So.
All right. Well, I guess in that case, you know, pretty par for the course. Like, if my name comes up, I'm sure, whether intentionally, unintentionally, or what have you, people will give you certainly opinions. But, you know, I suppose you're free to come to your own conclusions. So I don't actually agree with this diagnosis, to be honest. I mean, at one point I was just like, kind of like, maybe. But I actually would say that it's not accurate overall. I was diagnosed by a therapist 6 years ago, I guess, 7 or 6.5 years ago, whatever it was, as a primary psychopath. Now, again, it wasn't exactly an official diagnosis per se. It was more of a, like, what she gleaned from our conversations, which kind of led her to that conclusion. I mean, we had, like, I don't know, 3, maybe 4 sessions. I don't know if you can entirely come down to a diagnosis. I mean, maybe you'd know better than me, obviously, on that front, about whether or not, you know, you could come down entirely to a full diagnosis in just a few sessions on somebody's, you know, mental state. So, that being said, I didn't necessarily disagree with some of the elements of that diagnosis, and, you know, personally, I think that, I guess, again, you would know better. Psychopaths aren't traditionally created, correct? Or is it more the other way around, where it's the sociopath that's created? You see, there's a confusion there.
Well, in my opinion, there's a lot of things that go into play with this. Like, a lot.
Of course.
It's not as... This ain't something... It's
well,
not
yeah, there's an
black or
entire
white.
tree
It's all
of
grayscale.
that.
It's all grayscale.
It's
and
all...
it's every... Yeah, and I feel like there's things you could extrapolate from other, you know... sorry, I always get the words mixed up. What are they? Psychopath?
Psychopath,
and,
sociopath.
Thank you, thank you.
Under the tree, obviously, of social anxiety disorder. Or antisocial anxiety disorder, rather.
Yeah, you could say that, right? And like I said, there's things you can extrapolate from it that you could, you know, create like the same parallels, right? Which I understand that as a human being, we're creatures of habit, and we constantly look for comparison in things. It's like we're bound to this, right? So sometimes it's easy, again, this is just my opinion, sometimes it's easy, like you said, after spending just a little bit of time with you, it can be easy to take that low road approach and just go, yep, I'm seeing enough of these comparisons to just put them in that category, right?
Right.
I don't really believe in that because, especially when we're dealing with something like this, first off, if I were to diagnose someone with this level of severity that could directly impact their life and the freedoms that they may have, right?
Right.
I take that with very serious care and caution, because
I wish that
It
there
would
had been
be-
caution taken with that.
well, you know, it's a very serious thing. It's like we're talking about the difference between you walking out of that office feeling like you have a chance in the world, or you know, leaving that office in handcuffs. You know what I mean? Like, this is a very, very big deal. So I wouldn't just write it off after 2 days visit unless there was like some insane evidence to like really, you know.
There was.
I'm just saying.
There was
I'm just
insane
saying.
evidence.
Okay, well, I mean, if there's like a crazy amount of evidence and stuff, then you know that's kind of a little bit of a different situation.
It is a little bit
right?
of a different situation. So yeah, I guess to add extra context, there was technically evidence. It's just, again, I only met with her. I mean, I met with her a number of times even after I got out of prison. So you know, we've met at least I want to say a total of 4 or 5 times maybe within 6 years, 7 years, or whatever the fuck it was. I don't even really know. I mean, when I was in prison, we met, you know, at least 3 or 4 times, and then we met again after, you know, years later, to kind of, you know, continue where we left off. So I guess, you know, having a few conversations based on what she did know about me going into the sessions made her diagnosis, I guess, easier to come to, but at the same time, I still don't necessarily agree with the diagnosis, at least in hindsight. And one of the reasons why I don't necessarily agree with the diagnosis was because of the fact that in my experience, at least at the time, now again, I've been through a lot in my time here. I've learned a lot from a lot of different people. So it's not like I may say this to you acting like I don't already know the answer. But the reality is I probably do know the answer, but I'm still going to kind of ask the question anyway. And the question is like, can a psychopath love someone? Like, legitimately love them?
You know, that's a tricky question. Because I feel like, and again, this is just my personal opinion, and it's not that I'm not open to the idea that it could be different, because even with the things I said earlier, I always keep in the back of my mind the understanding that anytime we talk about these things, it's typically in the broad, like, generalization, right? Because there always is like that exception to the statement, right? Like, there's always that one thing that could exist that kind of defies everything that we normally come to expect, right?
Yeah.
And if you look hard enough, you can always find that, right? So my bare gut instinct wants to tell me, do I think that there are psychopaths that can exist that potentially could love something or someone? Well, I should say someone, right?
Someone,
I
yes.
would say, in my gut feeling, I'm sure it does exist. Now, do I think that it's like a common thing? No, I don't think it's necessarily a common thing to find that. Okay.
So
But
you
that
would
doesn't mean
say
that it.
you would say then that you think that it's possible, certainly, that a psychopath could love somebody, even if they are, in fact, a psychopath.
Yeah, but I'd say that it's probably more in like it's like, you know, are you familiar with Pokemon?
Yes.
I would say that what you're describing would be like finding a shiny, if you know what I mean.
What about Mew underneath the truck?
Well, I mean, that's a consistent thing, right? Like, you could recreate that over and over. We're talking about something that's like, you could spend countless hours looking for it, but that's not guaranteed that you even see one.
Okay. But would that that being said, would that make you come to the conclusion, though, that perhaps I'm not a... Well, I guess this is literally our first session, so I guess you wouldn't really be able to come down to that conclusion without even more context. But, I guess first... At a first glance, would you surmise that perhaps I am not a psychopath? Like, the odds are less... Okay, the odds are less likely that I am a psychopath because I love someone than if I were a psychopath and I also loved someone. Are you kind of saying, like... Because you said that, you know, it's kind of rare.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Again, it's one of those rare things where both could exist. It would be extremely rare, but it could exist, right?
Right.
Now, the other possibility is maybe, and I know this is gonna sound a little crazy, but bear with me. You ever grew up hating a certain type of food, but then once you like reached a certain age in life, you tried it again and you were like, wait a second, this actually ain't bad.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened?
I mean, yes, I used to not like salads, and I like salads now.
Okay, so I mean, there's always the possibility that things change, and maybe if, you know, in my opinion, there is kind of like, I forget what the exact term is, because again, I'm terrible with names, but I know in the medical field, there's like a pyramid, right? And it's kind of like the pyramid of like how people react given to the environment that they're in, right? And if all of your basic needs are met, then that's where you explore other avenues of life, right? So like as a prime example, if you had things like, if you knew that you had a shelter, you knew that you would have food, and you knew you had the means to support and protect your family, then you wouldn't be in fight or flight mode. You wouldn't feel like you have to constantly struggle to survive. You would actually have more time to enjoy things in life, and you might actually find yourself exploring different ideologies or creating art or things like that, right? Whereas if you're in a position in life where you're struggling to make these things happen, you might see life as like purgatory, if not hell. And I mean, let's be honest, if that's how you feel, if you've already feel like the whole world is set against you, then it's hard to really love things around you. That's just my personal sense on the matter, if that makes sense.
All right, let me give you a few more details then. I like that answer. Do you know Ursula?
Yeah, of course I know Ursula.
I mean, everybody knows Ursula. She's my fiance.
Congratulations.
Thank you. She was a DOC for a while.
I actually work with them.
I mean, how was that?
Well, I mean, whenever I did see them, it was always a fun time. I also couldn't help but notice that, you know, they seemed to be more professional when they were on duty. But they seemed to be more professional than I was in the sense, because when I became a clown, I took very big pride in that, because I felt the most free I've ever felt in my entire life. And the way I see it is, the reason I have this tattoo on my face, well, it would still be face, you know, makeup and paint and all that, but I was told I'm not allowed to wear that as a guard, so I got it tatted. But the reason I did that is because I want people at face value to know who I am and how I live, right? And having this on my face, it's the easiest way in the world to let people know, yeah, I'm a little different, and I'm actually proud of that. I'm actually happy knowing that I live with my feelings on my face, you could almost say.
I can empathize once again with that because I had pretty pronounced scars on my face for a while. I still do have a few, but I did carry some pretty prominent scars on my face, and I could have gotten them fixed, but I was kind of showing them off loud and proud because I wanted people to know. And eventually I did have to correct it because it was starting to become infected. So, you know, unfortunately I could not keep it, but I can see what you're saying, and, you know, pride in oneself is certainly important.
Well, it's also just a matter of, so this is also how I look at it. If people are quick to judge me just based off my appearance, especially off of the things I purposely choose to do, right? Then that's the quickest way of letting me know if it's worth my time to even really get to know them. And that's not we're not talking about therapy. We're just talking about, you know, if I'm not doing therapy and I'm just out and about. So in a weird way, it kind of honestly saves me time. Because imagine all of the people I could make connections with that would tolerate me because I don't have this tattoo, but then the whole time maybe they have like a alternative motive behind it all. You know what I mean? So this kind of saves me time and energy.
Okay.
And it makes it to where I'm only really putting forth my time and energy into those that are willing to meet me halfway on how I like to express myself.
Okay. With that in mind, I will perhaps give you that opportunity then to, as you said, you know, save time. Oh, wait. Fuck! Never mind.
Are you okay?
I was gonna save you time, but I don't have the thing. God damn it.
It's okay.
I don't have the thing. God damn it.
It's okay. It's okay. You
Son
did
of a
your
bitch.
best.
Okay, fine. Maybe next time.
Yeah, that's fine.
I had the
You're
thing,
okay.
and now I don't have the thing because I went to the store earlier. God damn it. Alright, fine. Anyway, moving on from that. I guess, to give you extra context, I've worn a lot of faces. A lot of, masks. And, one of them in particular I'm particularly fond of. I was gonna show it to you, but unfortunately I I appear to have left it in my other pants pocket. So, you know, here we are. But,
Yeah, it's okay.
if you had seen it,
Here's the reality. You at least know where it is, and
I
it's
do.
safe. So
It is.
You know, there's silver linings to this.
there are silver linings to it, for sure. But, I am,
I mean, if the worst thing that happens to you today is you misplace your mask, I'd say that's a pretty good day.
yeah, but, you know, in the past, misplacing my mask might have resulted in somebody getting stabbed. But, not these days.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, so,
I
you
might
know,
be a little biased in saying that, but that's still
you're
good.
you're good, you know, you're good. But, I guess I'll just cut to the chase. I'm a serial
But
killer.
not like with a knife, though, right?
No, not with a knife. I'm a serial killer.
Oh,
I
like,
mean, I was a
you eat
serial
a lot
killer.
of cereal?
Yeah. I have. Well, I mean, I have been known to eat a bowl or two of that. You know, it's you know. Of course, I guess it was a. What do we call it? Smiley-O's.
My parents never ate the bowls; they just smoked them.
Okay, that's what they call me. They call me a serial killer, but like I obviously never really liked that term, and also it was a little bit more grand for me. I was more of a Manson type than a Ted Bundy type, though. Unlike Manson, I actually engaged on my own terms with my own stuff. But I was Manson in the sense that I ran a group of people who were semi-like-minded. So it was a, I guess it was a quote-unquote crew, but the crew went about what they did with murder. Lots of murder. Well, most of the people survived, I think. I went to prison 13 years ago here in this city for 13 murders. And I got out because of the financial collapse. After which I rebuilt my Smileys, as I called them. And we kind of took what I initially started and we expanded it even further to the stars and beyond. And eventually that landed me back in prison again, but this time for, oh god, what felt like a lifetime. I mean, not undeserved, for sure. But once again, I'd managed to get out due to not necessarily the financial collapse, though that did help, but because I made some, you know, I made arrangements which allowed me to walk. I also was given the possibility of parole, which, you know, was pretty nice too. But I was denied twice for parole, which I think might be the first time. I might be the only person I know who has ever been denied parole twice. I mean, I guess somebody would have to check some records somewhere, but, you know. Anyway, I probably killed, I don't know, 900 people, maybe more, in my entire life. In this city alone, perhaps 27, maybe a little bit more. Of course, that's not necessarily disincluding my followers. My followers mixed with myself, you know, are kind of a, I mean, it's hard to say who was responsible for what, I guess, depending on the context, but, you know, yeah. Anyway, I wanted to get that off my chest right off the bat.
Okay, well, I guess, you know,
Thank you for all the
I
follow.
appreciate you being honest and transparent with me.
Appreciate the follows.
But I guess, you know, I guess you could say, for a lack of words, I'm just a little puzzled as to what you're looking to get out of this. Like, are you looking to make changes? Are you trying to explore something? Or
I mean, I've technically already made the changes because I've been living a fairly simple, quiet life since I got out of prison the second time. So in a sense, I've already made the changes. I am getting married. I am...
Would you say that you've rehabilitated in a sense?
That depends on what you mean by rehabilitated. I mean, if rehabilitation implies regret, then no. If rehabilitation implies that I won't do it again, then yes.
Well, in my mind, rehabilitation, this is just the way I define it, is if somebody is rehabilitated, they've done something or put the work and effort into changing themselves in a way that allows them to become a productive part of society rather than
member of society.
Yeah, just, you know, something that allows them to, like, live comfortably around people without others having to fear that something bad could happen, right?
Right.
That's how I look at rehabilitation. So personally, I don't really care what what the strive is to live up to being a productive member in society. I just care that that's the principle at which you look to live life moving forward, right?
Mhm.
So even if, let's say, as a prime example, let's say you were a psychopathic murderer who happens to have a lot of bodies underneath them, right? And
Right.
you don't show any remorse or regret for the fact that that's things that you did, right?
Right.
But rather you hold the mindset of knowing, like, well, I did those things. I don't really regret it. Heck, personally, not that I would want to hear about it, but personally, even if you told me, in fact, I enjoyed it, but
I
I
did.
know that if I, okay, well, you didn't have to tell me that, but anyway, the point is, as long as you could also tell me that you know what will happen if you did it again and where you'd end up, and that you more so regret your loss of freedoms and what that meant, then in my mind, that would still be, I can work with that.
And that's the answer to the question. So you figured it out pretty quickly. Not everybody does that the first time.
Well, everyone has their own reasons to adhering to the law, and in my mind, again, this is kind of where the confidentiality can go both ways, okay? But in my mind, I feel that the law is more of a metric used to help people, to guide people into becoming a productive member of society, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, there's a lot, life is too, what's the right word? I try, sorry if I stop for a second. I just like to pick my words very carefully.
Oh, that's good.
So life is too, life is too sporadic and sometimes unpredictable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the law can only go so far to define a situation, right?
Right.
And I feel that sometimes, depending on, if we were to take every case, case by case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I feel that sometimes the law could, I guess you could say, in a way, you could bend the law in certain situations to fit the exact case rather than always go, well, that's the law is the law, and it doesn't, like, as a prime example, and this isn't a law, this is just a way that I'm trying to convey my thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say there's a law that exists, right, that
Right.
says if you impede traffic, and again, this is just drastic example, this isn't even a real law, but let's say there's a law that exists that says if you impede traffic, you could get up to a year in prison, right, with the maximum being 5, okay?
Yeah.
But let's say somebody were to, if a cop were to see you impeding traffic, right?
Right.
Depending on the cop and how they interpret the law, they might say, well, your car broke down in the middle of an intersection. You're impeding traffic. That's going to get you a year in jail, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
That same cop, depending if they just look at the law and not the context, might go, oh, this person is walking down the sidewalk, but then they happen to have a heart attack and now they've collapsed in the middle of the walkway and they're impeding traffic. Same exact citation for them as you would give to the person who has a broken down vehicle in the middle of the intersection. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And in my mind, it's like, I feel like these are two drastically different scenarios and should be treated as such, even though you could technically apply the same law to both. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everything, yeah. I get what you're saying. Interpretation
And sometimes,
is the key.
yeah, exactly. Context, in my mind, is everything. Literally everything.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I feel like You know, I'm not saying that it's every cop or anything like that, but I feel like sometimes for a lot of the legal people, whether it's cop, lawyer, or judge, right? I think a lot of times, remember how I told you the biggest thing I enjoy about my job as a therapist is it reminds me consistently that my perspective on life isn't the perspective on life. It's just my perspective, right?
Right.
Well, I feel like people that are cops, lawyers, and judges, they only have time to cast judgment on situations, right?
Right.
So they don't really have the time to reflect on, are they making the right judgment? Does that make sense? And that's
Yeah.
not something that I typically harbor against them. It's just they don't really have the time, or make the time in some cases, to explore the option of whether or not what they're doing makes sense in reality versus the textbook that they're reading. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right. Like you can't have, you can't simplify things into their written form. You have to kind of extrapolate and.
Exactly. But I think it's also fair to say that if you've been doing the job for, like, let's say you're a judge and you've been a judge for like 5 to 10 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're probably not so much as, you know, motivatedly interested as you were in your first year of being a judge to get down to the nitty-gritty details. You're probably going, I have 5 to 10 years of experience. I heard the first 3 sentences of what they just said. I already know what the outcome is. Why don't I just save time, hit the gavel, make the claim, and on to the next one? Because I got like 50 other appointments I got to make just today.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean?
Yeah. I mean.
So, and you could put that same on a cop or a lawyer or whatever. Sometimes even doctors. Sometimes I feel like doctors could be pressured into trying to help their patient, and maybe they know they have so many patients that they just accidentally make the wrong call because they think that what they just saw was something that they've done like 50 other times, but in reality it was something more nuanced than what they thought it was originally. You know, sometimes mistakes are prone to happen, and in my opinion, they can happen more frequently when we become more loose with our process of dealing with things. That's why I like to take my time and pick my words carefully and treat every case as an individual case.
Right. I mean, I try to do something similar, though sometimes I choose the wrong words, you know, even when I do think, but, you know.
Well, you know, it happens to everybody. That's what makes you human. I mean, for me personally, one of my biggest pet peeves is when people say the word try. And sometimes I know I do it every once in a while, and I'm working on it. I really am. But it's a real big pet peeve of mine because in my mind, you could say you're going to try something, and you could also say, I'm going to do my best, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you extrapolate those two sentences, technically it means the same thing, right?
Right.
But the difference is when you tell somebody, even if you say it out loud, if you say, I'm going to try something, you're technically giving yourself a backhanded compliment. And you're already, psychologically, you're already telling yourself and the people around you,
It's a therapist.
yeah, I'm going to attempt to
It's his
do
job
this
to talk
thing,
too much.
but I'm also more expecting to fail than I am to succeed. That's what saying I'm gonna try this means. Like in a psychological way. Like you're actually convincing yourself that it's not gonna work, but you'll attempt it, right? But if you say,
or do not, there is no try.
well, that's what I'm saying. If you say I'm gonna do my best, well, guess what? That's true. You're doing your best, and your best might not be perfect. It may not be, you know, the best the results that you want, but at the end of the day, it's not an untrue statement, right? You're technically giving it your best, right? And going into it with that mentality, you actually psychologically you're more pumped to do it rather than nervous and anxious, because the difference is one sets you at a pace to really give it your best, and the other sets you up at a pace to expect failure.
Well, okay, so I guess I'm curious to know how that would apply to my situation, though.
In which context?
Well, in the context of interpretation and extrapolation and, information and what have you. I mean, what would make me, as someone who has just told you that he is a mass murderer, what is there to interpret or reinterpret about that? Or are we talking more about the context of, obviously my post-prison release in terms of, my rehabilitation? Is that what we're...
No. I meant the whole. What I was just talking about was because you mentioned earlier that sometimes that you try that. Okay, see, there I go. That you do your best in picking your words, but sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't. Sometimes you pick the wrong words.
Right.
And I basically was explaining how even I fall victim to that. I mean, I literally just did 2 seconds ago.
Just do it.
So, but the point I'm making is, we're bound to make mistakes. It will happen. The one thing in life you can expect is mistakes. It happens all the time. Some of them are within our control, others aren't, right? And the way I look at it is a mistake is only truly a mistake if you purposely choose to not learn from it. Because the way I look at it is life is nothing but a learning process.
Right. I mean, I've definitely learned a lot. I mean, yeah, that is, I... Going to, I mean, technically I've been to prison 3 times, actually. The 2 times in this city, the first time in the city that I was cultivated in. I use the word cultivate because I was not born there, but I was sort of made there. And I was in a prison that I actually, it wasn't because I had done something. I didn't do anything wrong, actually. I was put there because my adopted father put me in the prison to kind of build my character. I'm not going to go into too many of those details with you just yet, but that is... I guess I have been in a prison most of my life, and after my last prison stay, I would rather not go back. So, it's kind of one reason why, I feel the need to, I've expressed myself in all the ways that I could possibly express myself, so I guess in that sense I am rehabilitated.
Okay, see, and now you can even, I feel like you just saying that, I can actually see the gears moving. I can actually see your perspective already changing, and I didn't even suggest anything. That was you coming to that conclusion. Do you not agree with me?
I mean, I felt like I kind of came to that conclusion about a year ago, but yeah. I can see
Well, I
your
mean,
point.
even based off of what you told me just a couple minutes ago compared to how you just summed up things, I'd say that was a drastic difference. In fact, I'd even go as far as saying that what you just said, in a small way, kind of contradicts what you said 5 minutes ago. Because 5 minutes ago, you were telling me that, you opened up and that you're a mass murderer, right?
Right.
But just now, you opened up and expressed how, due to your experiences in prison, that it's helped change and mold your perception on how you see your future and how you'd like to
I don't
live
necessarily
out your
think it's a
life.
contradiction, though. And the reason why I don't necessarily think it's a contradiction is because of the fact that, going back to something else I said earlier, I don't actually regret any of it.
Yeah, but in order to be considered a mass murderer, you'd have to be still in the game, right? So in my mind,
yeah, I guess.
you saying that you are a mass murderer, to me, isn't really the correct statement. I'd say you were a mass murderer.
Fair.
That's
Fair
basically
assessment.
the angle I'm coming from, personally.
I mean, no, I get you. I think that makes sense. I mean, it's just
And,
that I guess the way
that's also not to bruise your ego, because once you've become something, you could always pull it back if you really need to, is how but you're making the wherewithal decision to acknowledge that it's something that you did do, and it's something you didn't regret doing, but it's also something that you're not necessarily jumping the gun, I guess you could say, to keep doing that, right?
Right.
It sounds like you're more open to the idea of investing different alternatives so that you don't go back to jail and have
Right.
to live the rest of your life there.
Yeah, yeah, actually. That is...
Okay.
That is, yeah. There is definitely truth to that.
No, I'm not saying.
I guess
does that mean you don't think about it from time to time?
Well,
No,
I
you
always think
probably
about
do.
it. I always think
Yeah,
about it. I mean,
you probably think about it all the time, but the difference is
there are a
remember
lot
how
of
I
people who
told you-
remind me of it all the time, so you know.
Okay, well, remember how I said earlier, your feelings aren't the issue. You have the right to feel however you feel. I'm never gonna tell someone that they don't deserve to feel the way that they feel. I'll never do that. Unlike certain therapists that I know that happen to start with the word P, or the letter P. Anyways, the bottom line is you have the right to feel how you feel, but what's important is what do you do with how you feel? Like, how do you process your feelings? Because obviously, if we were to, bringing it back to the whole productive member of society, a productive member in society that feels terrible or feels insulted or feels like somebody deserves to get killed, right?
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't necessarily act on that feeling or those impulses. That's what a productive member of society would do. You can still feel that way all you want, as long as you don't act on those feelings, or you find an alternative way to express them that doesn't result in, breaking the law.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can still feel those feelings and live life harmoniously around people. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It does make sense. I mean, I guess I have expressed those feelings in ways that could be, perhaps not conducive to how a therapist would appreciate progress. Because I have been in the vicinity of a lot of my victims before, and they react accordingly. And I can't say that I don't enjoy their reactions. So, I guess in a sense, it's kind of like, you don't do the thing, right? But you remember the thing. You remember the thing, and, they remind you of the thing, and
Okay.
that is satisfying. More
I can
satisfying
see that.
sometimes
I
than
can see
actually
that.
doing the thing. You know what I mean?
No, I get exactly what you mean. And you want to know what? I'm gonna share with you a personal opinion, and this is
Okay.
by all intensive purposes a personal opinion and should not reflect any fact in any way, shape, or form. Okay.
Right.
So don't take what I'm saying as law. Take it as just the way I perceive something. Okay.
All right.
Do you like movies?
I love movies. Maybe not so much
You
these
ever
days.
heard of a
but
director, Quentin Tarantino?
who hasn't?
Okay. Well, in my personal opinion, which, by the way, I'm gonna just say from the beginning, love their work. Absolutely love their work. I can't get enough of it. Anytime that I see that and if I even know that they're making something, I'm already pulling my wallet out and telling people to take my money. So, just starting there, okay?
Right.
But, in my personal opinion, okay, Quentin Tarantino makes movies in a way that feel like I'm almost watching how psychopaths are made.
Really.
And in my personal take, I almost wonder sometimes with how good he's able to direct films to really capture that element. I can't help but wonder sometimes if these aren't like, you know, things that he's just naturally thought of, and maybe had, you know, maybe struggled with impulses of his own, but
Well,
then
I can actually answer that
happened to
question. The
find
answer is
a
yes.
creative. Okay, well there you go. See,
Because, you know,
so he
feet.
found a. Sure, whatever. I mean, whatever the reason is, at the end of the day,
He
he
likes
found
feet.
a way. Sure, I mean, okay, well, all I'm trying to say is, at the end of the day, he, in my opinion, I think there are some parallels between him and a psychopath, but the difference is he found a way to express it in a way that actually made him a productive member of society versus a person that's just going to be locked up. And then everyone, instead of him making movies, we probably would have just gotten one movie about him. You see what I mean?
No, I understand. That is, yeah. I mean, that is, yeah. I mean, I've been told, again, in one of the mini therapy sessions I've had in the past, I have been told that I should express myself in a way that is, gets me the same high, but without actually doing, you know, the thing. I mean,
Yeah,
although
if
I
you're
would
telling me that
argue
he
that in
doesn't-
your professional opinion, though, I would surmise to guess that you wouldn't exactly find me hanging out with my victims and enjoying their reactions the proper way to do it, or is that just, you know?
Well, in my personal opinion, you know, I feel like it's more of a, I'm not a perpetuator or proprietor of creating scenes of violence. So personally, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that, right? But I
right.
think at the end of the day, if you're not technically breaking any laws and you're not actually causing someone's demise, right? Then it's sure of a hell of a lot better than the alternative.
Right.
But I feel like it was, I don't know, maybe there's a way that you could still create those scenarios, but in a way that doesn't come off in a way where people might label you, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like as a prime example, this is just one, just, you know, I mentioned the whole movie thing, right? That's one example. Another could be maybe you want to write stories or books, right?
Right.
Another one, just off the top, is maybe you would want to start investing in a business that's kind of like a haunted house, if you will, where people willingly pay you to go in these environments that are curated just to scare the shit out of them.
You know, I was going to do that at one point, and unfortunately, it just didn't pan out because the work was just too much. I wanted to do a murder tour.
See, or even things like that, like there, or you know, there's so many different avenues to go about it. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I really do believe that a lot of the people that people look at as like the best in those fields, I honestly really do believe that they actually suffer with these impulses, but they just happen to find a way to express it that not only keeps them from going to jail, but also happen to turn a pretty penny.
I mean, yeah, a lot of corporate CEOs kind of fit that bill.
I mean, I even think Stephen King's on that list.
Oh, definitely, most likely.
But, you know,
Without question.
but hey, you know, if writing about doing weird things to kids and scary scenarios keeps them from being actually registered in the law as, you know, then hey, I guess keep writing, my guy.
I mean, yeah, you know, I mean, it is... you know, I guess I kind of look at it as like a, you know, like people express themselves in a lot of different ways, but I mean, it's also an expression of reality, though, too, because these are things that do happen in real life sometimes. So, you know, you don't want to,
I mean,
like...
some of their stuff is rooted in science fiction.
true,
but
true. Other than the
but it
science
still- but
fiction
it gets-
stuff, but, you know...
Yeah, but it still gets the essence. It still gets the vibe. It still gets the terror, the fear, the sense of dread, right? That's
Right.
why, in my opinion, a lot of people still are fans of cosmic horror, because the further you go into that, the less you have of an understanding outside of the fact that it's rooted in anguish and turmoil. Like anytime you visit a story that's rooted in cosmic horror, you know that the ending isn't going to be good. You know that before you even start the book. And yet for some reason people still eat that up, including myself.
Hmm.
But but sometimes there could be parallels to that too, like you said. Cosmic horrors is kind of an expression of the doom and gloom side of life. And I'm a firm believer that life is what you make it. So if you really want to make your life doom and gloom, you have that ability. Just as much as if you want to make your life a more prosperous and enjoyable thing, you have that as an option as well. Like anything's on the table. All that matters is what wolf are you feeding?
True. Very true. I mean, yeah, there's certainly a lot of wolves out there.
Yeah, but I mean, you know that analogy, right?
Right, sure. I mean, wolf in sheep's clothing. I mean, unless we're talking,
No. I mean, like, there's an old analogy that says there's two wolves inside of you. You can almost think of it as like one's represents good and the other represents evil, and whichever one you feed that's the one that grows.
I guess I kind of like to see myself as like all-encompassing, good, evil.
Well, I mean, that's kind of a tighter, you know, what's it called? Maybe I shouldn't have used that because that does kind of make it seem like it's black and white. You know what I mean?
I mean, there's always the gray areas. I mean, everybody has
Exactly.
their gray. Not everybody's a mustache-twirling villain or a righteous hero. I mean, there's always going to be flaws and issues that bring them down a peg or two.
And personally, I don't know about you, but I feel like people mostly like, I guess you could call them anti-heroes, right? Because they're the most relatable. It's just some person who happens to be in a situation where they use their whole life experience to cast their moral judgment on whether they're going to do something or not, while also being rooted in reality. As a prime example, I'm a really big fan of Deadpool. This guy only does things in his self-interest, while at the same time contemplating on his own life and trying to grow himself. Not because he wants to do it necessarily for others, but because they just kind of grow tired of doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a more relatable character to people than someone who's just all good or all bad.
I think I'm a little bit more privy to the anti-villain, which is because the anti-hero, in my opinion, is at the heart of it all is still a hero. They just kind of are a little bit more angsty about their heroics, and they're a little bit more willing to do slightly off-kilter things in order to achieve their goals. Like maybe they won't reel in their punches. I'm privy to the.
I'd say it's more of an anti-hero is still self-indulgent. However, they will consider the fact of, like, if they're creating a scene of destruction, will it affect other people's lives around them, right? Like, they at least take some sort of consideration of that before they do whatever it is that they're looking to do. That's how I feel an anti-hero is they're still gonna do whatever it is, but if they're at least able to minimize the damage that happens to others around them, they'll do their best to take care of that first, if that makes sense. Whereas maybe an anti-villain in this case,
Thanos.
they don't necessarily care. They're just like, I'm here, I'm doing my thing. If others are here too, that sucks. Wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, I mean, that's, because, I mean, I think the implication with a, anti-villain, I mean, it's a little difficult to define, I guess, is that they, they are,
You could say Thanos is like an anti-villain.
I mean, yeah,
because
he's got
technically everything
layers.
He's doing, yeah, because everything he's doing kind of has a weird justification
And
to
there
it.
is a net benefit to it.
Yeah, like he's not doing it just purely out of evil, but at the same time, you could also say it is evil.
Mm-hmm. So it's like more straight-laced in that context, I suppose. That he is definitely
another-
not a good guy,
Yeah,
but
another
he's doing
prime
it for good
example-
reasons.
Exactly. Another prime example I could think of just off the top of my head is Light from Death Note. I would say he's he's like anti-evil.
Guess you could even say Dexter.
Yeah, that's a prime example too.
Though
Although
I would
don't
hate
know, actually,
Dexter if he were.
I would almost argue that Dexter's actually an anti-hero.
Yeah, I guess that's...
Because even though they do have the murderous tendencies, they actually really take in consideration how is this going to affect the people around me, and is anyone else going to get hurt? Like, they really make a point to make sure that the only person that it does get hurt is their main target, which typically isn't necessarily a good person to begin with.
Right.
So I would actually say Dexter in this case is more of an anti-hero, weirdly enough.
No, actually, I agree with that assessment. I don't know. I think that I kind of view myself as a... I guess I am a bit of a villain in the eyes of a lot of people. I do kind of somewhat think there are elements of anti-villainy in the sense that, you know, I do love and I do have people that I care about that I don't necessarily want to wrap them up into precarious situations, per se, but, you know, at the same time, when I was going about my business, it wasn't as if I was targeting bad people. I was targeting whoever I wanted to target, whether they were good people or bad people. So, in that sense, it was kind of irrelevant to me how the person believed or thought or felt about anything, because they most likely did something which made me want to go after them. So, innocence, guilt, it's relative. So I guess in that sense it makes me, I guess, mostly a villain, but maybe elements of, like I said, anti-villainy. It's hard to define.
Well, you know, the only thing consistent in life is change. And maybe you're just in that current process right now, so that's why it's a little hard to really define. But that doesn't change the fact that you're still who you are, even if you're going through changes, right? Now, I do have a random question, though. You don't happen to be involved with this thing. I've heard about this thing going on in the city. It's called the League of Evil. You're not actually a part of that, are you?
I am not.
Okay, okay.
I am, I guess on the scales of evil, I tend to overshadow, those who, play at being evil. In the sense that they don't want anything to do with me.
Oh, okay, yeah, because, I mean, I happen to...
I happen to be a bit too much, even for them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I was only asking because I was a little nervous because I got information the other day that allegedly, I haven't even looked into it, but allegedly, somebody told me that Yuri Popov is the leader of the League of Evil. And I know maybe you don't know this, but I also know that he's
the
also
only good mime is a dead mime.
Okay, so you do know he's a mime.
Mm-hmm. I don't actually believe that. I've been told that the only good mime is a dead mime. That's what I've been told.
Okay, well, I mean, a lot of people tell me that too, but you know my stance on violence. If I can communicate, I always strive to do that first. And I've even therapized a couple mimes. I'm not, you know, as long
Have
as
you
they're willing
therapized
to...
Yuri? I guess you wouldn't answer that question, would you? Stupid question.
I mean, I can tell you that I have. I just can't tell you what we've talked about.
Did you
And to
know
answer
that
your
he
question, I have,
brainwashed someone?
actually. I've heard a lot of things, but I haven't really gotten in touch with them since everything that I've heard, because honestly, uh, the clowns right now are at war against the mimes, and even though I don't like violence, I'm afraid that the mimes are just hell bent on eradicating clowns and everything we stand for. So, uh, unfortunately, I might have to defend clown kind.
As you should. I mean, you don't want to just stand by and allow such transgressions to occur. I mean,
Well, exactly. But I mean, this is another one of those, I understand cops and stuff might get involved and there's a chance I go to jail. I get this. But at the same time, I can't just let them eradicate clowns and everything we stand for, because that's more important than, you know, to me, being a clown is freedom. So if they were to take that away, then what's the point?
truth, truth, truth.
Anyways, I don't know if there's anything else that we could really cover, but I personally feel like this was a pretty good session. I don't know about you.
No, I enjoyed myself. I believe we have made progress. But I will say that, yes, I am more or less interested in therapy, not necessarily because I want the help per se, but more or less because I just enjoy talking about the concept of psychology and what it all means and what it all leads to, why people do the things that they do, why I do the things that I do. I mean, I can't help but also admit that it strokes my ego somewhat. I have been called a narcissist, among other things, but, you know.
Well, actually, I don't know if this would be of interest or not, but and I don't want to get like people's hopes up or anything, but one of the things I was looking to do if I get the position, right? My first thing is I definitely want to I want to try and hire some therapists, and I'm even willing to take people that don't have experience. Like, my main motive is, if you're willing and open to the idea of molding yourself to help others, then I'm willing to take that journey with you, right? I just need to know that that's like the real intent behind applying, right?
Well, wait, are you offering me a position?
Well, I can't say that yet, because I am not the head of psych department. But what I am saying is, I personally believe that having a person who is now a productive member of society, even if they have, you know, a murderous background, right?
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like, how do I explain this? I still feel like there could be, I could see a world where, under the right guidance and help, maybe you could even help other people who are going through similar things that maybe you have experienced, right? And in my experience of being a therapist, it's infinitely easier to absorb the words of a person that you really feel understands where you're coming from. And
Right.
if there's other people who may or may not be going down the road in life of a psychopath, I feel that they could highly benefit from talking to somebody in your position who also has interest in psychology, right? Because now, not only could you prove to them that, you obviously have the credentials, right?
Right.
But you also, just by being their therapist, actively, physically prove to them that there is a future for them. It is possible, and that they can be rehabilitated. They can still exist amongst society while still living with whatever it is that it is, right?
Right.
And I feel like that is infinitely stronger of a medicine than medicine itself. That's how I feel.
You know, if Pixie heard this, she would have a coronary beyond belief.
I mean, you're not wrong, but
Because she
I'll be honest, I'm not
definitely-
I'm not interested in self-indulgences or getting people to think that I'm in power or the head of something. That's honestly not my drive. My drive is to actually create change in the city and provide people with the means to do so. Not just in the sense of getting the help that they'd like, but also for the people that are looking and interested in helping the people that would like the help.
I almost wish you did get to this position, because if that did happen and you did actually get me on board somehow, some way, that would be the biggest fuck you to that department in the history of perhaps the city.
I'm just saying, I really think,
And there's a lot of reasons for that.
I just think the way that people, at least, you know, this is just my opinion. I just think that the way people see things right now in the city is very fine-tuned when it comes to mental health. And I think mental health has gone underplayed for far too long. And I think that it's way easier to just cast judgment and blame on people rather than take the time to really give them the proper help that they need, right? Because I'm a firm believer that the only thing that you can't help is a dead person. So I'm not gonna sit idly if
Sorry, I
somebody's
like taking
alive
screenshots.
and asking for help. That's just where I come from. And I know that for some people that seems like a chore or a time sink or whatever, but I see it as an opportunity. And I have a lot of ideas, like a lot of ideas, like an insane amount of ideas. I actually used to be an idea manager, but
Oh.
I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to get people super excited and then it not happen.
That's basically the story of my life. Me getting excited and then it not happening. So.
Yeah, well, you know, I know you probably don't know this, but I've been actually an active therapist for well over a year and a half now.
How many serial killers have you spoken to? I'm assuming you've spoken to quite a few, yes?
Well, you know, not everybody just opens up with "I'm a serial killer," but if I had to take a stab at it, and yes, I did pick those words.
You
I'd
did.
probably say, I don't know. I'd probably say I've, at least in my opinion, I feel like I've spoken to maybe at least 8, if not more.
You said 8?
Yeah,
In a year?
but those are, well, yes.
Well,
but those
okay,
those
were they-
also,
were they in
you
the
gotta
prison?
keep in mind these are not all of them, and that's what I'm saying is these are just the ones that I feel I have had enough experience with to technically, you know, I wouldn't necessarily diagnose them with it, but if you were to ask me how I feel about it, I'd say, yeah, I could.
That's
like,
why if it happened,
if
it
it
would be
came out that
hilarious.
they were deemed that, I wouldn't be shocked. Let me just put it that way.
Okay, so you're basically... They never actually admitted to you that they
No,
were...
you're probably the first one that has openly
Oh, yeah.
mentioned it.
Well, I
Actually,
mean,
no,
it's
I
on
take that
record.
back. You're probably the second person who's openly admitted it to me. There was one other person who did tell me that they've killed a lot of people.
Well, I mean, killing a lot of people, you know, doesn't necessarily always mean serial killer, but, I mean...
Yeah, but they seemed really proud to let me know. Not in a sense that they were like, you know, threatening me, but in a sense that they were like wearing it as like a badge of, or you know what I mean, like a trophy, if you will.
Kind of like what I just did.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah. So I mean, you know, but again, they didn't openly just say, "Oh, I'm a serial killer." They just
Right.
said, "Oh, I've
Okay.
killed a lot of people, Ben. I've killed a lot of people."
Yeah, but were they sentenced to prison twice, and did they serve over 500 years in one of those sentences?
Well, to be honest, the one that comes off in mind, I haven't seen them really around ever since that therapy session. So for all I know, they could have that person locked up.
Most likely.
We're talking like in the deep cells, like Alcatraz.
Oh dear. Actually, I was in. Speaking of that, I was actually in the. What was it? The MaxSec. For a while. Well, not a while, but I was there for seven years once, and the first time I was there for what was supposed to be like 40-something years in MaxSec, which fortunately was cut down to only 2 before I got out the first time. So they've definitely wanted to keep me in the deepest, darkest cells as much as possible. But, here I am.
Okay, well, there you go. Now, I do gotta let you know, this would conclude our first session. So the second one, I would, if you so choose to have one, I would have to charge you. And
Of course.
typically my going rates, thanks to, my main manager, Cal Mao, he told me that I'm worth at least 3,000 an hour. However, for people that are, financially struggling,
I am not financially secure.
well, like I said, for people that are financially struggling but desperately seeking the help, right? And can at least, at bare minimum, show me that they're really making the effort, then I'm willing to, negotiate the pricing to fit their needs better.
Right. I only had to pay $1,000 to my last therapist.
Well, like I said, that's just what
And
that's
she
just what
noped out.
Cal Mao told me I should start with.
I literally
because-
paid her and she noped out.
Wait, what?
I'm sorry, I was just ranting a bit. I paid her and she noped out. After like
Okay,
3
well,
sessions.
I would never do that. Unless obviously, you did something that proved to me that I'm unsafe. But I wouldn't say that I necessarily have had that
I guess
feeling here. Speaking
If I do continue to see you, I suppose the question I have is, would you be? See, the reason why she noped out essentially was because I wanted to dress up in one of my guises and have a conversation with her as one of my guises. Because I slip into character. I have many faces, and each face I put on is a different character, so to speak. And she was ultimately uncomfortable to the point that she wanted to have police involved. Like, we were trying to make it work, but it just fell apart. Because she obviously didn't trust the fact that, me going into character and talking to her somewhere in the city, it's understandable that, you would want to take every precaution imaginable in that situation. But essentially, though, it just kind of, it fizzled out, and she just kind of gave up. So,
Well,
I guess I'm wondering, would you just give up if we went in that direction?
Well, my whole approach on things is, like I said, as long as I see proof that you're doing your best to make the change that you're seeking, right? Then I'm willing to meet you halfway. That's how I approach things. And I have a very open mind, and I deal therapy case by case, okay? And in some cases, I know it's going to sound a little lame, right? But for some people, this is just how I help them. And maybe you can even appreciate it because, you did reveal earlier that you yourself said that you're a bit of a narcissist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, for some of my clients that are narcissistic, one of my methods to help them open their perspective, right?
Right.
I do this thing that's called, it's gonna sound a little lame, but just bear with me. Sometimes I do this method where it's called role playing, right?
Right.
And sometimes I create scenarios where either my client and or I, right, will get into a character to help like you know, simulate scenarios, right, with the goal of getting the client to think in a different perspective, right? Because in these scenarios, typically you'll actually be playing a character, right? So
Right.
so and depending on
I was
how,
gonna
you
say
know,
that.
serious you take the therapy, right? If you're
Right.
truly narcissistic, you'll believe not only are you playing the character, but that you're playing it perfectly. So my hopes are that you get so much in character that it actually helps you break the way that you normally perceive life, and even if it just for a few moments gives you the ability to see life through a different lens, a different perspective, if you will. And hopefully that helps, you know, uh, break down barriers that you may have had prior to even doing the whole role play. Oh man, it just sounds even terrible saying it.
Pretty cringe.
Yeah, you know, it does sound pretty cringe, but hey, I've used it in the past. It's helped out with some people, believe it or not. And the first person I tested it with was actually myself.
I see.
I got this other character that every once in a while I'll change into, and I'll practice actually, you know, just to practice my craft, right? I do my best to act as like the complete opposite of how I normally am, because I genuinely really like helping people and lifting them up. And if I meet new people, I like getting to know them and maybe showing them around the city, making connections with them, you know, learning what their goals and ambitions are. I genuinely like helping people. In fact, a lot of the times, if you don't see me helping clean up people's mental in the streets, you might see me cleaning up the trash in the streets, because you know I'd also do sanitation.
Of
But
course.
but when I get into character, just to help practice and train myself, because I'm a firm believer that, you know, the best way to help somebody is to also come from a place of experience, kind of like what I mentioned earlier about saying how, you know, if you were open to it, I would love to hire you as a potential therapist for people that might, you know, be going down a tricky path in life, right? Um, so in the same regards as how you would have that experience to help teach others, I practice my experience in role playing as a complete opposite character of me, just so because if it's the extreme opposite of me, then that, you know, I could probably land anything in the range underneath, right?
Right.
So, you know, that's just something that I do from time to time.
This
I
is
don't do it often though,
interesting.
because I'm not gonna lie. I typically I hate.
I just got
I
an
hate putting
interesting
people
text.
down.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just got an interesting text.
Okay.
I just got a text message from Yuri Popov.
What?
Yuri Popov has just texted me.
What?
Yes.
What the?
I have never spoken to him ever.
What the hell? See,
I've never met the
he's
man.
not here, is he?
I don't know, but he's... Hello, I have a project for you.
What the heck, man?
I don't know. I don't know the context. I mean...
Okay, well, I think maybe we should get out of here.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to go.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, he's definitely not probably around, right?
I mean, you didn't make any contact with it. You didn't use your phone at all during our session, did you?
No, outside of answering that one call.
It may just be. It actually might be a coincidence. Maybe he actually legit just wants to give me a project because he knows
Yeah,
of me.
yeah. Coincidence, yeah. Coincidence.
I mean, there's not
Yeah,
people
you're probably
following
right,
you
you're
though.
probably right. I'm
Are you
just, like,
sure you're
jumping
not
to
being followed?
conclusions.
I mean, you know what? You're right. It probably is a coincidence. But I mean, I guess I would have to ask that question: is do you have people that are? I mean, are you followed? Do you get followed? Have you noticed anybody
I mean,
tailing
I'm at
you?
war with the mimes.
Okay, well, right, but I mean, you also said that you've therapized mimes, so
Yeah, some of them are therapized. That doesn't mean all of them
I
are
wasn't
open
sure
to
if they
talking.
saw you as kind of like a, you know, a bit of a neutral party.
Like I said, it kind of depends on the mime, but historically speaking, I'd say that I'm only, I'd say probably only around 2, maybe 3 mimes actually respect me enough to not just like bash my brains in.
I see.
And given the fact that there's probably just as many mimes, if not more, than clowns, that's not really a good, you know, that's like probably less than 1%. But, you know, that's kind of bringing it back. That's kind of like the whole, can a psychopath also fall in love? Well, you know, can a mime also talk things out with a clown? You know, it's not common. But
I mean, it shouldn't really
happen.
be common considering they're mimes.
Yeah, but you know, you see what I'm saying though? It's not,
Yes.
it's just because things are known to be a thing, right? Doesn't mean that everything has to be that way. Am I going the wrong way? I am going the wrong way.
Well, I mean, you just heard the name Yuri pop off, and we had a suspicion that he may have been watching, so you're probably a bit,
I just wanted to get the hell out.
you know. I'm sure he's
You know what?
not anywhere
if he
near
is watching
here.
us, hang on. I don't even feel safe in this vehicle. Oh, sec.
I'm not sure how welcomed I will be here, but
Oh, we're not staying.
okay.
Okay. Hope you feel comfortable in the car.
Oh yes.
Whee!
Ooh, dear. That was a jump.
All right. Okay, so is there anywhere that you'd like to particularly go?
Probably back to where we started. That is where
So
my
right outside
vehicle
the
is.
food court?
Yes.
Okay, I can take us there.
And just for the
And then,
sake
you
of
know,
clarity,
if-
I likely am not going to be doing whatever project that Mr. Popoff has in mind.
Okay, that's good. Well, listen, if you don't mind me asking, how did you feel about the therapy? And do you think that there's anything that you'd like to see me do possibly better? I'd often try and ask all my clients this.
I mean, it's hard for me to really say immediately after a thing has already happened. Usually I have to think on it a bit, but I mean, you kind of had me at the whole, like, essentially trying to, you know, replace Pixie. So, you know, that immediately gives you all a lot of points in my favor. I mean,
Well,
it doesn't
more of
exactly.
just the craft of.
I mean,
you
of
know,
course,
like-
of course. I mean, okay, I do think that despite the fact that there's a lot to criticize about Pixie. At the same time, you allowed me into your car, alone, and we drove to a place in the middle of nowhere, essentially. And I told you that I was a serial killer. So, obviously this was all educational, right? A lot of this was educational. But, in the future, bear in mind that not everybody's gonna be me. So, I guess if there's one thing to improve upon, it's that you should maybe consider doing therapy sessions at the hospital or in a place that is agreed upon, that everybody can agree on, and you also should probably contact people and let them know where you are. At the very least, contact people and let them know where you are. I mean, that's kind of the biggest criticism right off the bat. Other than that, though, I mean, I appreciate the thinking, about, trying to be more open with the idea of, bringing different ideas and concepts into therapy as opposed to just talking to a person who has no idea the experience of the patient. So, does any of this make sense? Am I making sense?
Yeah, no, that does make sense. However, I mean, my whole thing about it is, I am a privatized therapist, so I don't really have the luxury of just like always guaranteeing that there's somebody else I can contact or any of that stuff, right?
Oh, right.
And even though, the hospital's really chill and they do give me the access to the rooms upstairs if I so choose to use them, which are really nice, by the way. But but my whole thing is because I'm privatized, I feel like the best way to establish I'm taking you to apartments. Not
you are.
I'm so sorry. So my way of looking at it is, remember I said the truth will set you free?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I also believe that if there isn't trust, then it's not really a conversation. It's more of like a mental chess game.
Mm-hmm.
So by allowing you the autonomy of picking a place and even allowing you to drive with me there and do all that, I feel that it at least helps create a better layer of trust and understanding than
yeah, but what if it ended with me stabbing you?
Well, everything in life could be what if. But the way I look at it is, what if me taking that time to go with you to that place results in you taking your first step to creating the changes that you're desperately seeking?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's more worth the risk.
Well, good. Actually, I appreciate that. That's the right answer. I mean, I know I criticized you for doing it, but I mean, I do actually agree that is actually the right way to go about it.
Yeah, but that isn't to say that if I did have all of the tools and accessibility at my fingertips as being potentially head of the psych department, right? I would definitely structure things in a way like, I'd probably curate some SOPs for all the therapists, because my number one concern above helping people at that point is also making sure that my team is safe in doing so. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot easier for me to only have to manage myself as an independent therapist, because the responsibility doesn't really rely on anybody else for my actions. It's all on me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yes.
I would handle things drastically different. But, I'd also be willing to take suggestions and things like that, because I know that at the end of the day, a team of therapists is probably, everyone kind of has their own ideas to add, right? And at the end of the day, all of us are probably there for the same reason, which is to help make a difference. So,
I mean, I suppose my main concern is that, I would rather you be alive before you are able to, obviously get to where you want to be,
Listen, man, I don't know if I told you, but I am a bit of a wizard, so...
Okay.
And I've been spending a lot of time with Bobby Belgium. You know who that is?
I do not.
He's like a world famous actor, really cool guy. He actually used to be a clown. Um, but anyways, I spent so much time with him that some of his acting skills kind of rubbed off on me. Because the other day, two mimes tried ambushing me, and I was able to take one of them down, but one of them got me really good with a wrench. But I just went ahead and acted like I was dead, and they just left me alone. And then after they left, and I waited a little bit, I just got back up and, you know, brushed the dirt off my shoulders.
Okay. Hey, whatever you gotta do to, I guess, to protect yourself. You know, that's all I'm saying. Is that maybe just do whatever you can to protect yourself.
Okay, but in the actual like confines of like just the way that the session itself was handled, not in like the journey or the or where we had it, or you know even the talks about Pixie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just specifically in our talk, would you say that there's, you know, any comments, concerns, criticisms, or even compliments? I'll take any of them.
I mean, I guess as a compliment, I like, your ability to pull information from a variety of sources, entertainment being one of them, which is a thing that I enjoy. I was fed a lot of entertainment, growing up in the prison. It's interesting because, you know, most people who live in a prison are not typically culturally savvy, but I was, and I appreciate that you, yourself, seem culturally savvy, and I think that it humanizes the conversation when we're able to have a conversation, like that. I guess in terms of criticism, I mean, it's hard for me to think of a exact criticism, because again, it just happened, and you know, I need kind of time to think.
Yeah, it was a first session. I understand that.
So
But
I
also,
think,
it's also one of those, you know, I like asking people off the cuff because sometimes well, in my mind, I hope that you just say what first comes to mind. I don't even care what it is because it's like the true confession, right? And I'm not really interested in hearing what you think I want to hear. I'm more interested in hearing the things that you think I need to hear.
all right, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess a question I have is, do you think I gave you all the things you needed to hear today from me?
I think that what you provided me with was the perfect amount because and I would have that's why I kind of cut the session where it was, because one, it felt like we were definitely going over my normal hour rate,
Of course.
and two, on top of that, it was definitely a lot of information, but not an overwhelming amount, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as somebody who suffers from ADHD and dyslexia, it's bad. It's really bad. I have a suspicion that there's that ADHD is in the water. But
Oh dear.
anyway, the point is, I feel that the session was wrapped up very well, and I really appreciate the fact that there wasn't like a. I mean, in my mind, I feel like
There wasn't a lie, right?
Well, there wasn't. It was rooted in truth. It was rooted in transparency, and it was handled in a way where no one felt like they had to raise their voice. And these are all things that I personally really appreciate.
Good. You know, I don't typically raise my voice. Well, I have, but you know, when I do, people don't really like it.
Well, you know, I've helped probably well over 100+ people, and let's just say not all of them are able to express themselves in a kind manner.
Did I express myself in a kind manner?
Yeah, I'd say definitely. I mean, shoot, you're probably, I mean, you know, don't take this the wrong way, but I'd probably say you're probably one of my personal most interesting clients.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You're not just saying that, are you?
No, I genuinely mean that because most of the people that, in my opinion, are narcissistic or happen to have uh, aggressive mentalities, right,
Mm-hmm.
aren't really capable of delegating themselves in a way that still comes across as calm, cool, collected, and professional.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm all about professionalism.
Yeah, and I
It's
can
kind of the
tell.
reason why I think a lot of people are afraid of me because, I don't I don't always wear my credentials on my sleeve, so to speak.
Oh, that reminds me. And again, I'm not trying to like upset you. I'm just trying to help you out. Uh, Maybe this would be a good moment to just remind you that you left something in one of your other
I did.
pockets.
I did do
So
that.
so I don't know if maybe I'm just reminding you in the sense of if you want to take care of that, so you don't have to worry about that for
True.
later
Very,
in your
very
day.
true. Thank you for reminding me.
Okay,
Actually,
cool.
with that in mind, actually, could you take me back to the apartments? Actually, not the apartments, just the clothing store, very quickly.
Okay, I think there's one up here.
And then you can drop me back off at the food court, and then we can nip this in the bud, and you can go about your business.
Okay, awesome. And I know this is probably gonna sound like a little bit of a broken record moment, but would you say that the entire time that we've had our little chat or spat, whatever you want to call it, would you say that my voice has been bearable?
Your voice has been sufficient. It's been
Okay,
sufficiently
thank you so
collected.
much. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
I will be back in a moment. Alrighty then, let's get back to the food court.
Okay, just Kenneth?
Mr. Smiley.
Oh, okay.
Just for the
Nice.
sake of clarification, this is not DID.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
I am who I am, no matter what I look like. I just have a demeanor change, and I change my face.
Well, whatever. I tattooed my face, so who am I to judge?
Alright.
Oh, dang it! Sorry, I
Oh
almost got
dear.
that.
Be very careful. You don't want to get into an accident. You want to hurt yourself. Alright.
Um,
I appreciate the session today. I will contact you again in the future, and perhaps we can have a conversation. Yes?
okay, yeah, sure. And hey, whenever whenever you get in contact with me, it'd be really appreciated if you could text me your full name so I could,
I will text you as soon as I leave.
Okay, awesome. Well, hey, I really appreciate the session. Is it Mr. Smiley or just
Mr.
Smiley?
Smiley. Or
I
Smiley.
appreciate-
Smiley is alright as well.
Okay, well, whether you're Smiley, Mr. Smiley, or even Kenneth for that matter, I appreciated the session, and I feel like like I mentioned earlier, I feel like I learned a lot from it as well. So thank you for the experience.
I hope you did.
I may have even leveled up.
You definitely did. Alright, Ben. You have a good one, alright?
Yeah, you too. I'll see you around.
See you around. Stay safe. That was good. That was good. I enjoyed that. I was just checking to see if a certain someone was here, but oh, okay. Kareem Abdul Knox. I was about to say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is in the city. Also, thank you for all the people from Ben's chat who followed. You've been mooned, Welsh Cook Case, the De-Evolution, Learning Process. Appreciate the follows. When a fucking therapist walks up to Smiley and, like, is talking about, like, therapy and all of that, he's like, immediately interested. He is immediately interested, and he wants to... He's all about that. Not even necessarily because he likes therapy. He just enjoys... He just enjoys the... You know, the funny thing is that he's not even the first person... Like, he's not even the first person to suggest to Smiley about him being, like, a therapist. Like, literally another therapist kind of said the same thing. Which is actually a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea. If it actually happened, which I sincerely doubt that it would, but if it actually happened, it would literally be a smack in the face towards the hospital and towards the old psychology department in every regard. Which is why it'll never happen. But if it did happen, you know, that would be insane. For many reasons. Like, one thing Kenneth did not say is that he has brainwashed people. And hiring a guy who literally brainwashes people, you know, not just the serial killer part, but also the brainwashing part, you know, that has a certain, you know, connotation to it. I don't know why Yuri texted Kenneth. I have no idea. I mean, I guess I could reach out and ask. But I kind of wanted to see what he has to say, if he says anything at all. Doesn't look like Ember's around. Or Ember's busy. I wanted to talk to Ember about why Yuri would be texting Kenneth. Learning process. Thank you for the raid. appreciate it. I'm guessing that you are, I'm guessing that you are, in fact, Ben. Well, welcome to the wonderful world of Mr. Smiley.
We're gonna go skydiving.
And you just happen to run into this guy. You just happen to run into this guy. Of all the people to run into, it just happened to be this guy. I hope that you enjoyed that as well. I guess I wound up keeping you a little bit longer than you had intended, but you know, hopefully it was worth something. And yes, your voice does sound good. So I guess the test was successful. Are there any other mimes? God, when he said that, I was laughing a lot. Like, really. Because there's... I won't say too much, but, like, it's just that there's a lot of reasons why that would probably be a very bad idea. But, you know. Yeah. I don't want to call Yuri. Like, I would rather he... Because he's the one who reached out to Kenneth, so... I could maybe talk to Idle. Tried talking to Ember, but... I guess I could always just call Ursula. Let me see if she's around. I don't think she is, but she might be. People are actually around right now. Not as many as you would think. Good goals to have. Good goals to have. Give it to Kenneth. Kenneth will take it over. He'll know what to do.
Hello.
Hello, Idol. How are you?
Oh, quite all right. Lurking in a cemetery,
Oh.
as my kind tend to do.
Oh, okay. Well, I was actually just thinking about going there because my kind tends to do that as well. I know this is kind of a random call, but I was just trying to find out from other people why. Maybe you likely won't know anything about this, but why would Yuri Popov be texting me and asking me to do a project?
Well, Yuri is either just genuinely interested in doing things with people that he hasn't before and is branching out in a particular way, or he intends on using you for something due to your connection to Ursula, who is a circus clown.
I mean, yes,
Uh,
that's kind of a concern for me.
A valid concern, we'll say. But I mean, my
too.
thinking is he intends to use you in some way, either your skills, participation in the project, or as bait.
I mean, I imagine it is some form of bait, but I mean, I asked him, what kind of project, and he hasn't told me, so I don't really know. I guess I could just call him, but I don't really want to call him. I kind of want to just see if he says anything else, but so far, nothing.
Entirely fair. He's not going to be forthright about any ulterior motives anyway, but I don't think he's.
Well, I mean, he hasn't actually
prepared to
told me
lie
what
for
the
you
project
either.
is, though. He hasn't even told me what the project is, so I mean, that's why I'm just like, hey, you're a move dog. I mean,
Exactly. He's either not fully committed to the idea just yet, still workshopping it to see what he can get you to do, or he's hoping you forget about intent or
why would
purpose, and
he?
then just like strings you along into the plan.
I fail to understand why he think I would cooperate though with him on anything. I mean, not
He
that I
doesn't know
have.
you like that.
What's that?
Because he doesn't know you like that. He doesn't exactly know how you operate.
Well, yeah, but if he knows, okay, so I'm assuming he would, if he specifically asked me, I'm assuming he would be aware of my connection to Ursula. So
we think so, right?
I mean, I would think that for sure. And I mean, she is a clown, and me marrying a clown would imply that I, have more direct allegiances with the clowns in this context. Wouldn't you agree?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So I mean, I don't see why a mime would reach out to me for help on anything. It's just interesting to me.
Agreed.
So I mean, so that's what he would do. He would just try and reach out to people, maybe perhaps randomly, and ask them to do a thing for him.
At the very least, in an attempt to manipulate, because I'm not gonna question the intelligence of mimes in general, but if I had to quantify, Yuri's the least smart one.
That's interesting, considering the fact that he's the one who did the thing, right? He did the thing, yes.
What is the thing that you're referring to that he did?
Well, the thing, I mean, I would call it training, but I guess for the sake of transparency, you would call it brainwashing.
I would. Is he the one that did the brainwashing?
To my understanding, he's the one who brainwashed Ember.
I mean, well, that in particular doesn't take intelligence if he's just administering something. That's just following procedure to a T. No particular mistakes, but also did Ember's easy to manipulate without brainwashing.
She shouldn't have said that. I see.
So he had like a slam dunk with that one.
I guess that's the case. I guess that is true. I guess, if somebody is already susceptible to that, then they are definitely the easiest target. I mean,
pick an easy target.
if he has any idea who I am, though, I don't really... I guess.
I
Yeah.
understand the frustration.
I guess.
Oh, Peg Yuri is the smart one.
I wasn't sure if he was smart or not smart, so I guess you're giving me some clarification on that subject. I mean, I'm eagerly awaiting to see if he contacts me again. Just out of curiosity.
I'm kind of curious now too.
Yeah. But I mean, just for, I guess, sake of transparency, I will not do anything that he asks me to do if it involves, going against clowns.
I mean, I know that. I wouldn't have pegged you as the type anyway.
Well,
Your
not
motives are
everybody trusts
different.
me. Not everybody trusts me, Idol, so, they tend to, have their ideas about me, their preconceived notions. And, I am literally getting married to Ursula because I love her. And, I don't want to fuck that up by getting involved with, the antithesis of the clowns in any regard.
I mean, I will tell you pretty honestly. I've had my suspicions about you for a long time. I made no secret of that.
Of course.
But I do know that the love you have for Ursula is genuine. I wouldn't question that at all. So I'm not worried. Not even a little bit.
I mean, the fact that I'm even telling you this, I mean, does that, I could have just kept it to myself, but, it literally happened while I was having a therapy session.
Oh, jeez. I mean, I still would have trusted you regardless because,
Of course.
love for Ursula genuine. I can see that, and I'm not gonna judge you before you actually do anything.
Mhm.
So
Right.
I wouldn't be worried even if you didn't suddenly, call me on the phone.
I
Appreciate
mean,
the call the same though.
yes, of course. But yeah, I don't know what he's doing. He could be doing a thing. I don't know what thing he could be doing, but I guess just be on the lookout just in case.
Of course, did see a mime last night, so I'm a little extra cautious. They're
Fair.
around in places I don't usually see them. Little too close to the wildlife preserve. That kind of weirds me out.
I don't even really know what the fuck they are doing. I mean, I know that you guys, that clowns and mimes have been, in this war or whatever the fuck. But I mean, I don't really. Is it just I guess is the Neon Circus involved in this?
Not directly. In the event that a mime can tell the difference between a non-clown member of the Neon Circus and a clown,
Would you consider yourself a clown?
I do not.
Okay.
But also, I am a neon tiger, and one of my boys definitely did shoot one of the mimes, so that part is most definitely on site.
Okay. Well, I mean, hey, I guess that's guess that's the way the cookie crumbles then.
Indeed, I'm not worried about that part.
Yes. Okay. I'm just trying
I will
to.
keep my eye out.
Yeah. Just keep out for any mimes doing mime things, I suppose.
I'll keep you updated as well if need be.
All right. Appreciate you giving me some intel.
For sure.
All right.
I appreciate the same.
You have a good one.
Yeah, talk to you later, Kenneth.
Talk to you later, Idol.
Bye.
Goodbye. Probably trying to use you. Also, he's dumb as bricks. Only good things can come with this combination. I may not actually hang around that much longer. I may take a break, or maybe come back, but I don't know. We'll see. So I don't really know if I want to do. So there's a thing that Kenneth has done that he kind of wants to do the opposite of what he's been told to not do. He's already done this once, and this is just the culmination of a thing here involving Joshua. he kind of wants to, you know, he kind of wants to do the opposite of, you know, what Joshua has just told him to do. To give context, it was an off-stream thing. I'm not gonna go into it too much, but let's just say that, you know, Smiley has made contact with a man named Thaddeus, otherwise known as Tad in some circles. And Kenneth kind of wants to play that, but right now Joshua is kind of like, you know, do not call him. When you tell Kenneth not to do something, he kind of wants to do the opposite. So we'll probably figure out a way to talk to him, maybe without calling him. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens, I suppose. I'm just trying to think here. Like, Ember didn't answer my call, so I don't really know if Ember's even around at this point. Because I actually do kind of want to talk to Ember about some shit. So I think I might end things for now and come back later. Maybe. Possibly. So there's a lot of missing context there. So he gave Kenneth the number just because, you know, he was doing a thing. Joshua was doing a thing involving Thaddeus. And he wanted somebody to, you know, he wanted to know what he looked like. Like, he didn't know what he looked like at that time that he gave the number to Kenneth, right? So he gave Kenneth the number and he gave him basic information. And Kenneth took the number, and in order to hear his voice, he called the number because, I mean, again, this is just about, like, Joshua gave it to Kenneth because Joshua and Kenneth, they do share information from time to time. They do work. I don't want to say they work together, but we are, you know, Kenneth and Joshua are definitely similar. In their differences, they are similar. Obviously. For obvious reasons, they are very similar. But also, you know, they are also kind of in the same kind of game when it comes down to information. So it's just Joshua was sharing some information about this individual. A little bit, not a whole lot. And he just basically wanted Kenneth to be on the lookout to see, you know, if he could identify him. Like, because, again, Joshua didn't know what he looked like. So he gave that the number to Kenneth so Kenneth could maybe do something on his own. Kenneth did something on his own. Kenneth did something on his own, and he gave a call to Thaddeus, and they had a conversation. Again, it was mostly so he could hear Thaddeus's voice. But he did it with a voice changer. He did it in the most Mr. Smiley way you could imagine. Which, you know, is not... It's creepy, you know? He went further than what Joshua wanted him to go, I think. That's the thing. Despite the fact that Joshua, theoretically speaking, should have known what he was doing when he gave him that number. But, you know, Kenneth called Thaddeus. They had a conversation. you know, it actually went pretty well. But the relationship has been established. And you know, Kenneth kind of wants to go further with it. But Joshua, again, Joshua was aware that Kenneth called him because Thaddeus had twatted. Because, I mean, Kenneth had gotten interrupted, right? Kenneth got interrupted at least twice during the phone call with Thaddeus. And Thaddeus twatted about it. He twatted out, that unknown number, could you please call me back? And of course, Joshua saw that on Twatter. So Joshua called Kenneth and was just like, oh, okay, you called him? And I'm just like, yeah, I called him. And Kenneth gave some information to Joshua. But at the same time, Kenneth kind of, again, he went further than what Joshua would have wanted him to go. So because of that, Joshua is basically putting his foot down now and telling him, don't call. But again, you tell Kenneth not to do something and he probably wants to do the opposite. Though, maybe for now, he will heed those wishes. But very much, oh, this is... okay. Also, Kenneth had, on the stream yesterday, Kenneth had a meeting with some folks, who want to essentially bring him aboard with their, own visions, and at this stage, Kenneth kind of feels like, you know, things could actually pop off in a very interesting way, to the point where texts like Joshua telling him not to do something are going to become irrelevant. Because Kenneth could theoretically have an ace in the hole, so to speak. But we'll see. But it's funny because Joshua, like, you know, he gave him that... like... Mr. Smiley, you know, that's what he does. You're gonna, you know, give him something like that. He's gonna do a thing. I'm parking here because I can't park at the new center anymore. Oh, Jesus. That's a lot of floors. This is the reason why I started having him stay at the news center. Because it takes so long to fucking get through this place. Alright. I might come back later. If I don't come back later, or I might come back later. Who knows if I'll actually be streaming. But, I might come back later. We'll see. Depends. Depends. Anyway, thanks for the, RP today from, learning process. I appreciate that. That was good. I appreciate all the follows and the raid. I'll be back again, and, we'll, you know, become therapist Mr. Smiley, right? Yeah. I'm sure that that'll definitely happen. Definitely. Anyway, let me see if there's somebody I can actually send those of you who remain here to. I might. Oh, what do you know? Uh, Annie Cross is streaming, who plays Idol. So I think I will send those that remain over yonder. Give me a minute. I mean, I'm kind of a boomer when it comes to Twitch shit these days. So bear with me. Shit. I think I found her. Okay, I found her. All right, I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna send all y'all over to her. And we'll be back. Peace out.